This is actually hilarious. The YouTuber and Twitter guy, Think Before You Sleep, decided to do like a review of Frieren. First of all, he paid for Twitter Blue, so I'm gonna be reading through this and seeing what he says about Frieren because I enjoyed Frieren. I am so tired of people saying that Frieren is a good show. It sucks. Are people so lost these days that they think a 5 out of 10 show has Breaking Bad levels of writing? Maybe not normies, but in the anime world, so many meh out of 10 shows get tons of attention and praise. Well, the show gets a ton of attention and praise because it has really good animation and just it's exploring the emotions and how people can change. But seeing as you really don't want to change how you are and you actively try to push your own agenda in all of your videos, I can get why you would dislike it. How many episodes of that show are just nonsense filler? Well, I wouldn't say any of the show is nonsense filler. Filler is describing something that wasn't there in the original. To fill in while they wait for the main content. That is the definition of filler. People have twisted filler to be more so, oh, boring things don't add much. And even if you twist it to that one, it's still not the case. Because Frieren, all of its episodes have a point. There's a guy on YouTube, I'll link him in and I'll do some editing to slap his name right here. But he does a really good job at explaining the themes of each episode and the characters in them. It had to be like 10 to 12. I get that not every episode has to drive the plot forward. Shows could be more episodic in nature, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where some of the most memorable episodes of that show are technically filler. Well, no, because again, that is not what filler means. But if we put it that way, Frieren is a much shorter show than Avatar. It is at season 1, 24 episodes. It got through all of its episodes very quickly, and it's gotten basically halfway through the current manga within 24 episodes, way faster than Avatar. The reason why you think it's so slow is because you can't be patient and look at the beauty of the animation, of the scenes. It's trying to bring out an emotion in you that you obviously can't seem to feel. Most memorable episodes of that show are technically filler. Or an example of an anime that does that well is Cowboy Bebop. But in Frieren's case, instead of getting a 3-5 story arc with twists and turns, you get, hey, let's buy red-haired Zenitsu an oversized anime steak for his birthday. Yeah, because it's important, because the entire point of that episode is that she's trying to make something that a friend of hers, the master of your quote-unquote red hair Zenitsu, which, by the way, he is not, but we'll get to that in a second. She's trying to make the steak that his master would make him for his birthday, because she knows that's what he would like. Oh, and that's another annoying thing about modern anime. Every character is a fucking archetype and not an actual character. It's so lazy. If I see another guy tilt his chin down and push up his glasses in a fight, I'm going to lose it. So, and what archetype? You're complaining about Stark, right? Stark is not Zenitsu. Zenitsu is a cowardly archetype, and he's a womanizer kind of guy. He's kind of like Masaroshi. Way less, but still kind of. Stark isn't a coward. He's reasonable. A coward? Excuse me, but if you saw a fucking dragon cut up 2 buildings and then fly away, first thought isn't, oh, that dragon's a bitch. It's, holy shit, that dragon cut up 2 buildings like they were paper. What the fuck am I gonna do? It's only after he discovers his strength that he truly grows. He's still a worrywart and cowardly by nature, but cowardly doesn't necessarily mean bad. It's a trait that allows you to go beyond your limit. So we have 10 or so filler episodes in that show. Then they have a completely wasted story arc where they edge you into thinking they are going to add a priest to the party. They don't edge you into thinking that. He straight up states, I don't want to join your party. He gets convinced to do it because his older brother says, go. I don't want you wasting your dreams because you feel like you are indebted to me. You're free. You can go. do it, and it's very emotional, very well put together. It's not filler. Don't know why you keep on saying that. This is a character-driven story, much like Breaking Bad. In fact, I don't see why you're bitching and moaning about this in such a dramatic way when Breaking Bad has very similar characters. Sure, maybe not in the same way, but it's a character-driven show. It's about the tension of decisions, the action of it. The only difference is Breaking Bad is not animated and has 6 seasons and like a spin-off show. And also, the priest straight up stated, no, I gotta go back and look for my friend. So he left. It is a climactic finish. And again, the guy that was doing those videos, I'll show you that video, it is a twist. You complain that the show does not have twists. This is what a twist is. It's something you don't expect. It's something that you should expect, but you don't. You think it's gonna go along with the archetypes and the generic shit that normally happens. But no, it didn't, because it's not like that. These are people. If people have a thing that they want to do and they make up their mind to do it, they're not going to just change their mind out of nowhere because these people still want him to come with them. No, he's not going to. He wants to find his friend. He's going to try to go look for his friend. Follow. You mistyped. You really didn't look through that. This was just you bitching and moaning, really. Followed by him just randomly leaving. No, he stated that he was going to leave. That's not random. Put his main quest on the same route as the main characters, you idiots. No, that's the reason why. He's going to find his friend. He was never meant to be a full party member. It is meant to be something that pays off in the future. He might come back. He might not. This is about characters. This is a made-up story. You can do whatever you want. And the creator decided to do what he wanted to do. And last, you have a Chunin exam arc that was so boring that I genuinely fell asleep during it. Well, if you fell asleep during it, then how can you fucking review it? You can't. You can't review an arc if you genuinely fell asleep during it, because you weren't awake to watch it. And the arc, again, is less about the action. It's about the thought process. It's character-driven, not action-driven. Dragon Ball is an action-driven anime with character-driven attributes in it. Frieren is character-driven with action. I think even the writers got bored of it because I believe it was cut short, followed by the writers spending a bunch of time trying to teach all the Japanese learners the word gaokaku. I think even the writers got bored of it because I believe it was cut short, followed by the writers spending a bunch of time trying to teach all the Japanese learners the word gaokaku. What the fuck are you trying to say? It's not a Chunin exam, it's a mage exam, with some really tense moments and smart moves. It shows the different ways that magic works. I don't even know what the fuck this is. This doesn't make any sense. So, I don't know what you're trying to get at there. Okay, so we're just gonna ignore this because how the fuck am I supposed to interpret this? I believe it was cut short. It wasn't, actually went through the full arc. You need to read the manga. Followed by the writers. They're not writers, they're animators. The writer of the original manga did this differently. Obviously, you did not do any research on the show because it was a manga first. So, yeah, whatever the fuck this is stupid. I don't know what this means. The writers did not get bored because they weren't the one writing it. They were animating it. I will say that out of the entire series, it's probably the slowest part, but it's still super enjoyable. The most frustrating part of this is that they're a number... Okay, again, you clearly did not write this with intention behind it because you just... There are a number of genuinely good possible story arcs to explore, and the show just doesn't do it. You have 1,000-year-old autism out. Doesn't have autism. Throwing that out there, just trying to be like, no, Frieren is not autistic. I could maybe hear out the argument of she's autistic coded, but then again, you could also throw out the counter argument of she lives for fucking thousands of years. Of course, she's not going to be human. So no. Who has watched many of her friends die? Is she ever going to show any emotion over it? Yes, she does. The first fucking episode. Have these writers met an old person before? And and seen how distraught they are when they outlive their friends and family. She's not an old person, though. She's an elf. She has a completely different existence from you. You live. I can bet that you're probably going to live 60 to 70 years old. She's over 1,000 already, okay? She bawled her eyes out at the death of her friend. She's not emotional. She doesn't understand human emotions, and that's what the story is about. You are saying literally what the story is about. She doesn't like the sun, right? Either sunrise or sunset. I'll correct it. She doesn't like it for obvious reasons. She just thinks, oh, it's just another everyday sunrise, sunset. She's about to leave and say, hey, Fern, I'm going to go. But she looks over, and Fern is so happy. She thinks it's beautiful. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And Frieren, what does she do? Does she continue to be a emotionless autism elf or whatever? No. She looks at Fern and says, you know what? Yeah. This is beautiful. Are we going to see any reaction to her being so emotionally shut off that she completely ignored a guy who was so in love with her that he stayed single for his entire life? I wouldn't say. Well, we actually don't know if he was even single, because they don't go into detail about that. We know nothing about the hero Himmel's life. That's the point of the story. We learn about his life from Frieren. We learn that he's a genuinely good person. They never stated he's a virgin, or that he never married anyone else. He had so many people come to his funeral. We have no idea if any of those people were related to him at all. Yes, he loved Frieren. Frieren didn't know. She genuinely didn't. She knew the man for 10 years. So think of it like this. You know a guy for 10 minutes. Are you going to magically fall in love with a guy you met for 10 minutes? You got to look into perspective of someone who lives for thousands of years. 10 years is nothing. Stayed single for his entire life just for the chance to see her like once in 50 years. Frieren's not going to say, hey, I was a real bitch to that guy and fuck that one up. Are we going to explore that? No. Well, of course not. Because he doesn't hate her for it. He knows what she's about. He's not going to hold a grudge. You would hold a grudge. From what I'm reading here, you would hold a grudge against someone like that. You would genuinely feel like she hurt you just because she's not emotionally attached to you when you're attached to her. That sounds very creepy. She does feel bad about not spending time with him. Not because she loves him, because she viewed him as a friend, and she doesn't understand why she misses him so much, and she regrets not spending more time with him. She doesn't understand it, so she wants to spend more time with him. Wait, are we going to explore that? No. Is this character going to learn things during this show and maybe experience regret over past? Is this character? Nope. Wait, hold on. What the fuck? Is this character going to learn things during this show and maybe experience regret over past actions or personal failures? Are we going to maybe explore how Frieren feels about raising a child who she is going to outlive? Maybe she has some reservations about that or feelings. Nope. You didn't watch the show. You read a description. There's no way you watch the show if you are literally describing the fucking premise of the goddamn show. She regrets not spending time with Himmel. She regrets everything. And the premise of raising a child? Fern. They have a comedy dynamic. Frieren is raising Fern. And Fern is growing up. They skip over a large portion of it. That doesn't mean that it's because it's not important. It's because it's not what the story was trying to tell. Frieren is trying to learn about humans, learn about their world. You clearly did not watch a show if you are describing the premise and plot. Compare this to a story that did a good job with that exact plot point, like Lost Odyssey. You have a character who looks 25 with a son who is like 60. And is the story actually going to introduce a main antagonist? No, of course not. It's... What the fuck? The story is called Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Not Frieren beginning a new journey. It's the after effects of the big bad. They already beat the Demon King. This is after it. They're not gonna have a big bad, not yet anyway. Their story is still young. It's season 1. We had the villain of the weeks of the demons, and then every now and then, oh, a dragon here, throw in some an exam here. The story is about the end, after they beat the big bad, okay? If you want to be literal, no, there is no main antagonist. If you want to be more emotional, the antagonist is age. It's the inevitable crawl of time itself. These are not hard to understand things. This is surface level for the show. You have gone on and described the show in of itself, yet you act like it didn't do those things. Either you didn't watch it, or you didn't watch it for anything other than what you wanted, which is really not a good idea if you're trying to enjoy something. You're just gonna see a couple of demons get a really good 16th or 15th episode, and then the next 10 or so episodes are gonna be really overused and story arc and anime that is basically public service announcement telling Japanese kids to try hard on their exams. I'm sorry, but magic isn't real. What exams are these kids taking? Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. You fell asleep. Genuinely. I'm doing finger quotes. It makes sense that if you genuinely fell asleep, you would have no idea what the story arc is about, because you slept through it. You thought it was boring, and you slept through it instead of actually trying to sit down and see if something good would happen. The whole exam arc was them getting a pass to the northern part of the continent because they needed to. And then it moves on to another story arc. A story arc that goes into more emotional understanding and what demons are and all that, and you get an antagonist for that, and some really interesting stuff. Of course, the anime hasn't covered that yet, and it's major spoilers. Then we get some other stuff that I'm not mentioning because, other stuff. I'll wait for some mouth breather to tell me the show hasn't gotten to it yet, and to say that, and to that I say, bro, this show had 28 episodes. They have plenty of time to do this. This is a TV show, not a Twitch live stream. Yeah, it had 28 episodes of season 1. Season 1. What do you mean hasn't gotten to it yet? What you're not explaining what it hasn't gotten to yet, and why are you comparing it to a Twitch live stream? The content is supposed to be condensed. I'm going to explain the big difference between, real quick, I'm going to go on a tangent and just explain the big difference between anime and TV shows. Anime, early on, were very similar to TV shows. In fact, they were basically a carbon copy. Sure, the art style was different, and some of them had unique ideas here and there, but if you've ever watched Lupin the Third, you know it's basically a carbon copy of, like, Scooby-Doo and those old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. But then you introduced the idea of putting manga into an animated format, and it blew up the industry. It showed something entirely new. Because now, you didn't have to write the story yourself. You could go and animate someone else's story. All you had to do was just stay on their path, and you would get these amazing scenes. The big difference is that anime can properly say this is a season 1, while a cartoon can't, because a cartoon doesn't have another source material. Animes do. Frieren has another source material. It stops at season 1 because that's how they do it in Japan. They don't just say, oh, no, we need to keep the show going forever and ever and ever and have all these writers thinking things like, for like SpongeBob and some shit. They talk and they decide what they need to do for the first season. If this first season goes well, they'll air it for another. If it doesn't, they won't. They don't, and if they don't want to do a season, they do an OVA. Away from my tangent, let's go back. The content is supposed to be condensed. Do we have to wait for her to get to the Demon Lord's castle before she has any strong feelings about Himmel? She's not going to. I don't know why you're pushing this. They don't need a date. I don't know why that's not how people realistically behave. No, it is. For someone who's not a person. You're putting yourself in a character that is supposed to be inhuman. And you're trying to make this character, who is not a human, sees the world from an entirely different lens. They explain this in, like, episode 4. I think it's episode 4, with, like, the blue moon flower. That's not how people realistically behave. Again, that's just wrong. This shit is so emotionless. Calling it shit is just being childish and forgettable. And I actually had to look up the specific reason why they were traveling because I couldn't remember it. That's your fault, and the fact that you obviously aren't paying attention because it's kind of straight up stated that they're trying to go to heaven. Like, openly stated multiple times by literally almost everyone in the show. They're trying to go to the Demon Lord's castle because I want to see Himmel again and say, hey, I'm sorry I wasn't emotional with you before. Thank you. This is despite the fact that I had only watched the show a few months ago, and despite the fact that this FOMO relationship between FOMO, what the fuck does FOMO mean? Dude, I think you're chronically online. I think I'm chronically online, but goddamn, what the fuck does FOMO mean? Fear of missing out? What? Okay, throwing in a term that doesn't really work here, but whatever. Uh, and yeah, if you watch a show a few months ago, maybe you should go re-watch it before you start writing an article about it. Because this is just straight up an article, man. Come on. FOMO relationship, fear of missing out relationship between Frieren and Himmel. They're friends. She wants to say sorry. She wants to see him again and actually experience the things she missed. The friendship she ignored because she just didn't get it. Frieren and Himmel is such a common and relatable experience, like I said, and the show has good potential but has terrible execution. No, it has perfect execution. Why are you only looking at the relationship between Himmel and Frieren? Himmel and Frieren is the entire reason the show is doing what it's doing. It's trying to explore the differences of human. Again, gonna put this guy on screen, the guy that I don't remember the name of, that's really fucking good at doing video essays on this, and I'm not. But the show does not have terrible execution. I think you just have terrible taste. Oh, okay, here it is. What pisses me off even more is that there are shows like To Your Eternity that do a much better job with the immortality theme that get outshined by praise for shows like Frieren. Ignoring the fact that when To Your Eternity came out, it fucking blew up and everyone was like, oh, it's so perfect, and that it's one of the greatest anime ever made. I just gotta say that it's good, but I would not say To Your Eternity is better than Frieren. It has some emotional themes, yes, but so does Frieren. It has different emotional themes. To Your Eternity pulls on your heartstrings. It makes you feel bad for this character. Very directly, it says, oh, this character lost this, 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 and this. Frieren has lost way more than that guy, but she doesn't get nearly the amount of sympathy from you because she's not openly distraught about it. To Your Eternity has a plot point where a kid saves his crust, but in the process of saving her, he gets beaten with an ugly stick. He went over anyway, but ultimately ends up dying before the relationship gets serious. To me, it's a bit lazy because it's blatantly pulling on your heartstrings, but I can see why people would enjoy that. But that's not the end. Later, the main character realizes the whole time that he had the ability to revive his friends, which means after the other dies, he could have been brought back to life the whole time, yet the main character only finds that out after it was too late. Uh, Sorry to burst your bubble. They get brought back to life anyway in the manga. They just fucking get brought back to life. Sorry to burst your. Oh well, it's so impactful. Maybe you should wait until the series fully shows you everything before you start making opinions like this, because it does kind of seem like all the deaths of them are kind of worthless when they all get brought back to life. Frieren is not To Your Eternity. It's more person based. Alright? It's about the emotional attachment of Frieren's humanity. Alright? They both deal with humanity. Frieren deals with the subtle parts. Okay? Clearly you're not good with subtle. I can understand that, seeing as you clearly missed out of all the super, not that subtle clues that the show gave you. I mean, there's so many quote-unquote subtle clues that the show give you about things, but you clearly don't notice them because it's so fucking boring. Maybe it's because it's not bloody enough. And To Your Eternity has a bunch of blood, that's for sure. Frieren doesn't really. So maybe that's the reason why. I don't know. Has tons of mystery instead of To Your Eternity has tons of mystery. Instead of telling you most of the important plot points in the first few episodes, like Frieren does, anime needs to stop starting every show out with, in the world of Gaia, there was a magical war between elves and humans 1,000 years ago. Frieren doesn't do that, followed by divulging every interesting plot point in the first few minutes. Be like Attack on Titan. Be like Death Note. Those shows tell you nothing and let you learn things as the story progresses. Death Note. There are magical beings that reside over death, that live in a death world and drop notebooks on the ground to entice humans to do stuff with them. Attack on Titan. Eren Yeager lives on a planet where the world was ravaged by a war between Titans and humans. Frieren. The heroes have defeated the Demon Lord. The mage isn't really good at communicating their emotions. Isn't really super emotional. Says that it was a short journey. Thanks for letting me tag along, and leaves. Frieren does shows you less and does more than both of those. Now, Attack on Titan and Death Note are great in their own right, but they both do exactly what you're complaining about. So your whole argument is kind of pointless. Now let's see. These shows tell you nothing and let you learn things as the story progresses. So does Frieren. I have no idea why Frieren didn't start at the moment she met Fern, because Fern is a side character, is a secondary main character. Fern is a secondary main character. That's why. And it would kind of feel pretty jarring if the story randomly started at that point when it's... Oh my god, why are you reaching to these points, man? Beyond Journey's End, it's after the first journey. The first 4 to 5 episodes were a completely boring filler arc. Again, stop using filler like that. That's not how filler is meant to be used. The first 4 to 5 episodes teach you about Frieren and her emotions. She meets Fern. She gets to know Fern. And if you would pay attention, you would learn that for the first 4 to 5 episodes, time passes really fucking quickly. And then, after she becomes more human with Fern, time slows down. Instead of years passing by, it's a few months. And then soon, it gets to a few weeks. Time slows down because Frieren is viewing time differently. The point of the show, you know? That would have been told much better if we learned about the heroes who killed the Demon Lord through Fern and Frieren's relationship, as well as through other characters in the story, which they are literally fucking... What the fuck? Wait, hold on. The first 4 to 5 episodes were completely boring... were a completely boring arc that would have been told much better if we learned about the heroes who killed the Demon Lord through Fern and Frieren's relationship, as well as through other characters in the story. That is the fucking plot of the show. That's a part of the plot. That's literally what what? That's what happens. Why you have described the show multiple times. This isn't even like a fucking opinionated thing. It's the fucking plot. Doing it that way keeps me asking questions, whereas, why the fuck aren't you? Because that's what they're fucking doing. Whereas if I am told everything at the beginning, I have no questions to ask, which makes me bored. I genuinely feel like these writers, again, it's a manga, it's adapted from a manga, are just throwing out whatever comes out of their head onto a piece of paper instead of actually outlining a plan on the show, which is crazy because these shows cost millions of dollars produced. And clearly you don't know how to create a show because you aren't seeing anything. Again, you clearly didn't do any research in this either. You just wanted to be a pedantic dick and just complain because everyone's enjoying a show that you didn't. TLDR, Frieren is garbage. Stop giving shows like this so much praise. I'll wait for angry fans to not read my reasoning for why I hate the show, as they expect me to break down exactly why I don't like an entire show in 240 characters, followed by calling me an anime tourist because they are retarded and have a horrible taste in shows. Breaking Bad is a good show. We agree on that. Your opinion on Frieren is garbage because you clearly didn't watch the show. Your opinion is... It's okay for you to have an opinion and think that Frieren is not that good, but when most of your opinions are based on comparisons to other shows instead of looking at what this show is trying to give you, It falls flat. Frieren is not Attack on Titan. It is not Death Note. It is not Cowboy Bebop. It is not Lost Odyssey or whatever the fuck. It is not Breaking Bad. It is Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. That is the story it's trying to tell. You don't do any research. Do more research.